You're not supposed to know this. You were never meant to hear my voice. But after what I saw, I can't stay quiet anymore. I worked at CERN. Yeah, that CERN. The particle physics lab everyone talks about, but nobody really understands. Most people know about the Large Hadron Collider, the experiments, the search for the God particle. That's the public face. But beneath it, far beneath it, is something else. Something they've been hiding since at least 2012. They called it Level 9. And if you ask anyone about it, they'll laugh. They'll say it doesn't exist, just a myth. But I've been there. I saw it with my own eyes. And what I saw wasn't human. It all started when an unusual reading was detected during a routine experiment, a spike in energy. That shouldn't have existed. It didn't behave like any known particle. It was oscillating, shifting dimensions, phasing in and out of our reality. At first, they thought it was just an anomaly, but it kept happening, always in the same place, beneath the collider's ring, in a sealed chamber known only to a handful of personnel. And then, the accident started, people disappearing, equipment shorting out, time itself behaving strangely. Clocks would run backward for seconds at a time. Shadows would move where there was no light. I was part of the maintenance crew cleared to enter, Sub-Level 4. But one night by mistake, or maybe by fate, we were given access to an elevator that descended further than I knew possible. No one spoke. We were just told, "Emergency diagnostics, proceed to Level 9. I thought it was an error. I had never even heard of a Level 9, but the elevator didn't stop, and when the doors finally opened, I knew instantly something was wrong. There was no hum of machines. No lights from control panels, just one silence. Thick, suffocating silence. And then I saw it. A massive circular structure, suspended in the air, glowing faintly, like it was breathing, like it was alive. It wasn't machinery. It wasn't metal. It was something else, something ancient. And then, right before the lights flickered out, it opened. It wasn't like anything I've ever seen before. The structure didn't move mechanically. It unfolded like a flower blooming in reverse. Layers of impossible geometry peeling back into something that should not exist in three-dimensional space. I remember feeling it in my chest before I even understood what I was seeing. A pressure, like gravity twisting in on itself. One of the lights in the ceiling above us shattered, then another. The air became thick, almost liquid. My ears popped, then rang with a frequency I can still hear sometimes when I close my eyes. We should have run, but we didn't. There were 5 of us on that level, 3 engineers, a physicist, and me. When the portal, yes, by then I was sure, that's what it was. Fully opened, something stepped through, but not into our space, not yet. It was more like a shadow cast from another dimension. We couldn't see it clearly. It flickered, like it was struggling to maintain form. But the longer we stared, the more it solidified. Not physically, I mean in our minds. It was like it was learning from us, adapting, understanding how to be seen. One of the engineers, Malik, started mumbling in a language none of us recognized. Not gibberish, something structured, rhythmic. Then his eyes rolled back and he dropped, no pulse, no signs of trauma, just gone. We backed away slowly, but the physicist, Dr. Hamadi, she stepped forward like she was in a trance. She said, "It's not new. It's old. We didn't open it. We reconnected it." What did she mean? Before I could stop her, she placed her hand on the edge of the glowing structure and disappeared. Not dematerialized, not incinerated. It was like she had been erased, like she had never existed in the first place. Her name disappeared from our access logs. Her badge stopped working. Lyra, the facility's AI, even flagged her as a non-entity. But I remember her. I remember everything, because I wasn't supposed to be there. And now, I think whatever came through knows that, because sometimes I still hear it late at night in my apartment, in my dreams. The whispering, and I think it's getting closer. After Level 9, I was never the same. They ran tests on us for weeks. Psychological, evaluations, scans, even blood work. At first they told us it was a hallucination event, a consequence of oxygen deprivation, electromagnetic fields, and stress. But I knew they were lying, because I wasn't the only one hearing the whispers. Each night after I left the facility, I'd sit in the dark corners of my apartment, too afraid to sleep. I'd hear it, this low rhythmic sound, almost like a pulse. Not a sound in the air, but a thought, repeating, layered, like voices speaking underneath each other, overlapping in a language I could almost understand. And every time I tried to focus on it, it would stop, as if it knew I was listening. Then came the dreams. In them, I was always back in the chamber. But this time, the portal wasn't dormant. It was wide open. And something, not a shadow this time, but a form, stood on the other side. It wasn't moving, it wasn't breathing, but it was watching. And every dream ended the same way, with it stepping through. One night I woke up drenched in sweat and found a thin black residue on my bedsheets. My nose bled for hours. When I returned to the lab, the guards at the gate wouldn't let me in. My clearance had been revoked. I wasn't even in the system anymore. It was like I had never existed, but I remembered everything. And I wasn't the only one. 2 weeks later, I got a message, completely off-grid, from one of the other engineers who had been there that night. Her name was Louisa. She said, "Meet me in Geneva. Don't tell anyone. Come alone." When I found her, she was a ghost of who she'd been, pale, paranoid, constantly looking over her shoulder. She told me what they did after we left. The higher-ups sealed off Level 9 completely. Not just closed it, erased it. The elevator to it no longer exists. Even the blueprints of the lower levels have been altered. They're not just hiding. Something, she said. They're feeding it. I didn't understand. She handed me a flash drive. These are time-stamped logs, scans from the collider, energy readouts. I copied them from the secured servers. The signal didn't stop when we left. It's been growing. She paused, then whispered, "They've been running experiments behind our backs. Controlled openings, small ones, and they're not trying to shut it down anymore." I asked her why. Her face went pale. They think it's talking to them. That night, she vanished. No flight records, no hotel checkout. Her apartment was cleared out within hours. The local police claimed she never existed. But I have the flash drive. I've seen the data, and it's worse than I thought. The energy spikes, they follow a pattern. And that pattern matches celestial alignments, specific ones. The next one? It's days away. And if I'm right, and if they activate the collider during that alignment, the portal won't just open. It will stay open, and whatever's on the other side will come through. I tried to warn them. I sent anonymous reports to journalists, underground forums, even former colleagues still at CERN. Nobody answered except one. An old technician named Rayner. He'd been with CERN since the 90s, retired in 2014, right after the first incident. I didn't even know he was still alive until he reached out. His message was simple. "They've turned Level 9 into something else, I can show you. Meet me where it all began." So I went back, not to the facility, but to a forgotten tunnel that runs beneath the original research site, before CERN was expanded into the labyrinth it is today. A forgotten maintenance shaft hidden behind decades of bureaucracy and reinforced steel. The key code he gave me still worked. That alone was disturbing. I found Rayner deep inside, surrounded by old servers, stacks of analog equipment, and boxes of handwritten notes. He didn't look like someone paranoid. He looked like someone defeated. They stopped running experiments. Years ago, he told me. Now they're conducting rituals. I laughed. I had to, but he didn't. There are patterns in the data that don't make sense in physics. Rotating prime sequences, Fibonacci progressions that break into symbols, not equations, symbols. He opened a dusty journal, pointing to pages filled with spirals, eyes, and interlocked triangles. These aren't just readings, they're instructions. And the team that used to monitor them, every last one of them either disappeared, retired early, or went insane. Rayner had intercepted classified files, encrypted logs from CERN's internal servers. He showed me one labeled Project Kilfoth, a Hebrew word. It means the shadow of the tree of life, the reverse of creation, a gateway to something ancient, something opposite of order. They weren't just opening a portal anymore. They were trying to invite whatever was on the other side. The logs detailed a new configuration of the collider, a setting that should have been impossible. A collision. Frequency not in terahertz, but in a pattern matching a Schumann resonance. An Earth-based frequency tied to consciousness, biological response. And according to some, the veil between worlds. I asked Rayner how he knew all this. That's when he showed me the tattoo on his forearm, something burned into his skin. It wasn't ink, it was branded, a perfect replica of the symbol we had seen glowing on the portal back on level 9. I had this after a blackout, he said. 1 minute I was in my apartment. The next 3 days had passed. When I woke up, this was there, and ever since, I hear it too. He didn't need to explain. I already knew what he meant. The whispering, the dreams, the feeling of being watched even when alone. Then he pulled out a photo, grainy, taken from an old security feed. It showed the level 9 chamber. Only now it was different. The portal wasn't just active. There were people standing around it, wearing robes, worshipping it. The date on the photo, October 13th, 2022. The day of a supposed maintenance blackout that had lasted 6 hours. They hadn't told the public, because what they had done wasn't science anymore. It was communion. Asked Rayner what the end goal was. He hesitated, then finally said, "They think the thing on the other side is the original intelligence, that it's older than time, that it built the universe, but not for us. They believe this is its return." Stared at him. "And what happens when it returns?" He looked down. "You'll hear it first. Then you'll forget who you are. Then it'll wear you." I left that night with everything he gave me. The footage, the data, the symbols. I don't know how much longer I have before they find me. But I know this. CERN is about to activate the collider again. Not for science, not for humanity, but to open the door wider. And if they succeed, this world will never belong to us again. The moment CERN went back online, the world changed. Not in a dramatic, explosion-filled way. No, that would have been too easy, too obvious. It started quietly, invisibly. The collider was activated under the guise of routine particle research, something about testing high-energy collisions for dark matter exploration. The public announcement lasted exactly 26 seconds. No mention of Level 9, no mention of Project Kilfoth, but I was watching, from a secured location in the Swiss countryside, where I had set up a low-orbit signal tracker using stolen satellite. Feeds I monitored it happen in real time. At 03:33 a.m. the collider pulsed, a frequency that matched the pattern Rayner had warned me about, and then everything shifted. Birds in the surrounding area stopped flying, clouds stopped moving. I'm not exaggerating. They froze in place. And for a few seconds, I'm certain time didn't move. My watch stopped ticking. My heartbeat did too, and when it all resumed, the sky had darkened. Not nightfall, not a storm. It was like light itself was being filtered, not through clouds, but through something else, something between us and the sun. By noon, strange reports began to surface online. Entire flocks of birds found dead in neat, spiraled patterns in Romania. A hospital in Argentina reported 12 newborns delivered with identical birthmarks. On their spines, geometric, impossible shapes. Multiple GPS satellites began drifting out of alignment, ignoring ground control commands as if being reprogrammed. And in Norway, dozens of fishermen reported a hum coming from beneath the Ishore Sea. When hydrophones were dropped to investigate, they picked up what sounded like chanting. CERN issued no statement. But that same day, I received a message on the old burner device Rayner gave me. It was a single sentence. "The door is open. We can't close it." Attached was a new file, Kilfoth Sequence Flux 92. It was a live stream from a camera hidden deep inside Level 9. Probably illegal, possibly lethal just to possess. I opened it. It was grainy, black and white. No audio, but what I saw will haunt me for the rest of my life. The chamber had changed completely. It was no longer a lab. It was a cathedral. Massive pillars of flesh and machine merged in impossible configurations. The portal was now a living vortex, pulsating with rhythm, as if syncing with the Earth's rotation, and surrounding it were dozens of figures in hooded robes. But these were not just scientists. They moved wrong, their limbs too long, their postures unnatural. And then one of them looked up at the camera, directly at it, and smiled. Not like a human. Wider. Too wide, as if they knew I was watching, as if it knew. The stream cut off. I haven't been able to reach Rayner since, but I know what's happening now. The rituals he warned me about, they're not metaphors. They're real, and whatever's on the other side of that portal, it's not just some extra-dimensional entity. It's intelligent, strategic. It's been waiting, whispering through dreams, through static, through madness. CERN didn't build a machine, they built a mouth, and now the universe is listening. The collider pulses again tomorrow. If they push to full power during that alignment, I don't think the door will just open wider. I think it will stay open, permanently. And when that happens, we won't be the dominant species on Earth anymore. We'll just be vessels. It's been 3 days since the last collider pulse. 3 days since the portal stayed open, without interruption. And the world isn't the same anymore. They haven't made any public announcements. CERN's official website simply says, technical, maintenance and network issues. But beyond that polished facade, in the cracks and shadows, something has already begun. It started as scattered reports, isolated disappearances in small towns, people vanishing in broad daylight, no screams, no struggle, no bodies, just gone. But now it's happening everywhere, and worse, they're not just disappearing, they're being replaced. Identical faces, identical voices, identical behavior. At first glance, they look the same, but they're not. Their eyes are too still. Their smiles last too long. Their movements feel like imitation, like something learning how to move in a human body. I saw one of them today, on the tram in Geneva. She looked just like the receptionist from the hostel I've been staying at, but that woman vanished 2 nights ago. Yet there she was, same hairstyle, same coat, sitting in the same seat. But she wasn't blinking. And when she turned her head, it moved in a way that no human neck should. She stared at me and smiled, not like someone being polite. It was too wide, too precise, like it was saying, I know you see me. I got off at the next stop. I ran for 6 blocks until I was gasping for air, and even now, I don't think I lost her. But it's not just here. Encrypted forums, dark web threads, whistleblower channels, they're all lighting up with reports. Entire families acting wrong overnight. Babies born with spiral-shaped birthmarks on their spines. People waking up in strange places, claiming to remember events that haven't happened yet. And in rural Canada, 2 meteorologists claimed they heard chanting coming from inside the snow. Beneath it, everyone who speaks out disappears, or worse, they come back different. And in every case, there's one recurring pattern. They all started after CERN's last activation. Rayner warned me this would happen. He said the portal wasn't just opening to let something in. It was acting like a receiver, a signal hub. Something on the other side was scanning us, decoding our biology, our thoughts, our very identities. And now, it started replicating. But here's what's even more terrifying. The signal isn't just coming from CERN anymore. It's being mirrored, echoed from dozens of places around the world. Old nuclear bunkers, abandoned military research sites, even beneath certain churches that haven't been touched in centuries, like something was waiting for the frequency to unlock them. And now they're all tuning in. Dr. Kwan, one of the last scientists still speaking to me, sent a final voice message before disappearing. They're not invading by force, they're colonizing through identity. We're walking portals now. Since then, silence. That night, I received a file from an anonymous source. No name, no traceable IP, just a short video. It showed a white observation room, and inside it, something vaguely human, but wrong. Its legs were too long, fingers too thin, skin too perfect. And where its eyes should have been, only black voids. It spoke, in English, but with an unnatural lag, like every word had to buffer before being spoken. This form is temporary. Observation is complete. Expansion begins. The footage ended with static. I haven't slept since. When I close my eyes, I see a sky without stars and something vast behind it, watching through cracks in the veil of space. The problem isn't that CERN opened a door. The problem is, it was the last one. The others are already open, and now they're here. I used to think if the end of the world ever came, it would be loud explosions, chaos, panic in the streets. But this, it's quiet, methodical, and it's already happening. The news is still lying. They're calling it mass psychogenic delusion. That's their way of explaining why so many people across different continents are reporting the same hallucinations, the same strange dreams, the same doppelgangers. But it's not in their heads. It's real. And deep down, I think the governments know that, because now they're going silent, shutting down broadcasts, cutting power to whole regions, declaring state-enforced communication limits. You know what that really means? Digital quarantine. They're trying to contain information, not a virus, not panic. Truth. I've been moving every day, never staying in one place for more than a night. Every time I access the satellite relay Raina helped me build, I get more signals, more proof that CERN's activation did something irreversible. In the last 72 hours alone, the Vatican released a closed-door statement to all high-ranking clergy, declaring the return of the false image. In Beijing, a metro line was buried in concrete after 34 passengers went missing inside a single tunnel. And in Brazil, locals in a rural town burned down a chapel after claiming to see faceless priests praying to something that wasn't there. This isn't one location. It's global. And here's what terrifies me the most. The frequency CERN unleashed and the one tied to the collider's pulses is amplifying. Not from the collider itself, but from people who've been replaced. I've tracked 3 of them. I watched from rooftops, alleyways always hidden, and they all did the same thing. They stand still for hours at a time, just staring at the sky, or into mirrors, or once into a wall. Like they're syncing, downloading, updating. They're no longer pretending to be us, they're becoming something else. And now, so are we. I ran a biometric scan on myself last night, just a cheap handheld device, nothing fancy. But the results, they weren't human. The DNA signature had degraded, shifted. It still looked mostly like me, but there were sequences there that didn't belong to any known life form. Sequences with mirrored spirals and triple helix chains. I don't know how. Long I have before I stop being me. And I'm not the only one. Dr. Kwan warned me before she vanished. They're not entering our world. They're remapping it, rewriting the code that defines who we are. It's not about destruction, it's replacement on a molecular level. And CERN, they're not trying to fix it, they're helping it. Intercepted a leaked internal broadcast, an encrypted stream between facility leaders and an unknown voice. Not AI, not human. It said, "The convergence is ahead of schedule. Level 9 is stabilized. Integration is at 18%. By next lunar alignment, all carbon-based structures will adapt." All carbon-based structures, that's us, that's Earth. We're being terraformed from the inside out. Not with machines, with frequency, with signal, with the thing they opened and welcomed. I don't think we can stop it, but maybe we can slow it down. There's one last place I haven't gone. The original CERN core, the abandoned collider test site beneath Mont Terry. It was sealed off after a collapse in 1987, but Raina told me the truth. It was the first portal they ever opened. And if what he said is true, there may be a way to reverse it, or at least sever the signal. But I know what I'll find down there won't be just wires and machinery. It'll be watching, waiting, because it knows I'm coming. It took me 2 days to reach Mont Terry. It's not on any active CERN map anymore. Officially, it was shut down in 1987 after a seismic collapse that rendered the tunnels unsafe. But even before that, it was always secret, older than the LHC, older than the facility most people associate with CERN. It wasn't built to study particles. It was built to test the veil. That's what Raina told me before he vanished. This is where it started. The real first contact. The tunnel was hidden behind a false wall deep in the Jura Mountains. Getting past the external fencing was easy. It was barely guarded, almost like no one believed anyone would be insane enough to go inside. But as I stepped beyond the final sealed gate, I understood why. The air changed, thick, cold, pressurized. The moment I crossed the threshold into the lower chamber, every device I had, phone, scanner, Geiger counter, died. Instant black. And yet, something deeper switched on. I started hearing it again. The hum, not through my ears, but in my skull, in the marrow of my bones. I descended alone, step by step, through layers of damp concrete and exposed metal, all of it etched with strange black patterns that looked burned into the walls. Spirals, geometric keys, symbols I had seen before in level 9. Only this time, they were moving. I don't know how to explain it. They weren't animated. They weren't projections, but the longer I stared, the more the patterns shifted, like they were reacting to my attention, like they were alive. Then I reached the chamber. It wasn't as massive as CERN's main collider, but it was older, organic, like it had grown into the rock rather than being constructed. There were no lights, but the room glowed, a dull, reddish hue that seemed to come from the walls themselves, and at the center, the remains of the original breach. Not a portal, a wound, a tear in reality, still pulsing with slow rhythmic contractions like it was breathing. The air around it was thick and distorted, like I was looking through boiling water. I should have turned back, but I didn't. I approached, slowly, and that's when I saw the bodies. Dozens, maybe hundreds. Mummified, frozen mid-motion. Their faces, twisted in agony and awe, as if whatever they saw, or became part of it was both divine and horrific. They weren't just victims, they were offerings. And then, I heard it. A voice, not external, not in my ears, but in me, like memory, like command, like something ancient had reached across time and was using my own mind to speak. You are not the first to return, you are the final key. My nose began to bleed, my vision blurred, and then I saw it. Not the entity, not fully, but its shape behind the tear, a vast, shifting lattice of tendrils and eyes, constantly rearranging. It didn't move toward me. It moved through me. Every cell in my body pulsed in unison with it. It wasn't threatening. It wasn't even hostile. It was inevitable. And I finally understood what CERN had done. They didn't discover this force. They didn't create it. They were invited, recruited. Our technology was never the goal. It was the ritual, a process to make us ready, to open not just space but human minds, to turn us into conduits. And now, I had reached the core. I was standing in the original altar, the place where the first scientists made contact and offered themselves. I fell to my knees, not because I was overwhelmed, but because it wanted me to. It was showing me everything, the alignments, the timelines, the collapse. Earth wasn't just being invaded, it was being rewritten, one conscious being at a time, from thought to thought, like a virus of identity. And then it whispered one final thing. Transmit. I stood up, blood still pouring from my eyes and nose, and I realized it didn't want to kill me, it wanted me to leave, to tell you, to become its messenger. And the worst part? I already have. I don't know how long I was unconscious. When I woke up, I was lying outside the Monterrey tunnel. No memory of how I got there. My clothes were soaked in something black, thick like oil, but odorless. The sky looked wrong. There was light, but no sun. Clouds moved in straight lines like they were following a pattern. Birds flew in synchronized spirals and vanished into a single point on the horizon, like being pulled towards something. The transmission had begun, and I was the first signal. Can feel it inside me now, not like a parasite, but like a new organ. A second awareness just beneath my thoughts, pulsing, waiting. Not speaking, not controlling me, just listening. When I checked my satellite relay, I saw the impossible. The signal from Mont Terry was now being reflected around the globe, from military bases, from buried labs, from beneath cities we forgot. Even had bunkers. The entire Earth was resonating. It's not just energy anymore, it's information code, ancient and alive. I've seen the waveform patterns. They're not random, they're structured, recursive, evolving. The same symbol keeps appearing in every frequency pulse, a triple spiral embedded inside an eye, encircled by mirrored DNA. It's not a logo, it's a brand. And the branded are everywhere now. I see them on the streets, in shops, on the news. They act normal and they smile, they laugh. But too much, too clean, too exact, like actors who memorize their lines but never read the full script. Tested one. A man at a train station who had been standing in the same spot for hours. I walked past him 3 times, each time brushing against him. No reaction. Then I whispered, "I know you're not real." He blinked, not once, but 3 times in perfect rhythm, then turned and walked away. No emotion, no fear, just completed. Protocol. It's spreading. And it's not just people, technology is changing too. I've watched hard drives reformat themselves while offline, circuit boards growing hairline fractures that resemble the spiral symbol. My laptop fan runs backward at night. My phone vibrates even when it's off, and when I check, the screen just says ready. Ready for what? I don't know. I uploaded one of the raw audio pulses to an open-source AI platform just to analyze its frequency. It crashed, not just the software. The entire server melted, literally melted. And now, the machine I used. It hums, even unplugged. It's like the signal left something behind, something permanent. Everywhere I go, I feel like I'm being followed, not by a person, but by pattern. I see the same 3 crows, perched in the same positions, no matter what city I'm in. Same cloud shapes above me, repeating like they're stuck in a loop. But here's the worst part. People are joining willingly. Some have started worshipping it, calling it the returner, the spiral will, or just it. There are online cults now, millions of members. They don't post photos. They only share coordinates. Coordinates to underground locations where they synchronize. Snuck into one. It was beneath a supermarket in Paris, a tunnel that had no business being there. Inside were over 40 people, sitting in complete silence, eyes rolled back, arms extended toward a black mirror covered in the symbol. And when I stepped into the room, they all whispered, in perfect unison, "You were the first." I ran. Don't know if I'll survive the next week, but now I understand what CERN did. They didn't summon something alien, they awakened something native. Something buried beneath time, beneath space, beneath human thought. And once the signal reached critical mass, it no longer needed the machines. We became the machines. The transformation is accelerating. I see people on the streets glitching, repeating actions, stuttering mid-sentence, resetting. Not because of trauma, because their new identities aren't finished rendering. We're not at war, we've already lost. The Earth is no longer ours. We're just placeholders, waiting to be overwritten. I'm recording this from what used to be a power station in northern Finland. It's quiet here, the kind of quiet you feel deep in your chest. There's no electricity, no internet, no satellites overhead. It's one of the last dark places left, because everywhere else is glowing. Skies filled with spirals of light, mountains humming, oceans still, like the entire planet is listening to something. No more news reports. No governments, no resistance, just silence, and the sound beneath it, that pulse, the final frequency. It no longer needs machines to carry it. It moves through water, through stone, through us. We're not people anymore, not entirely. I feel it in my blood now, a second rhythm deeper than my heartbeat, like I've been synced with something far older than time. I used to think the portal at CERN opened a doorway, but I was wrong. It didn't open a door, it unlocked a lock that's been holding something back for eons, something patient, something that waited until we became advanced enough to set it free. They didn't come from the stars, they were always here, beneath the veil, in the empty spaces between thoughts, in the static between signals, watching, learning, copying, and, now, expanding. Earth is no longer a planet, It's a host. Every forest, every river, every building, every person, now part of the new organism. A single collective awareness wearing the skin of our old world. I saw a man walking yesterday. He had no shadow. His reflection smiled when he didn't. When I called out to him, he turned and said, "This identity has expired. Please update." Then he kept walking. The sky cracks every night now. You can't see it, not with your eyes. But if you sit still long enough, you can feel it, like reality bending around you, folding inward, and the stars. They're blinking out, one by one. I don't think we're alone anymore. I don't think we ever were. We were just the waiting room, a species designed to build the signal, to send the invitation, and then vanish, replaced by something better, more obedient, more complete. Some say there are still survivors, small groups hiding in bunkers, caves deep in the oceans. Maybe that's true. Maybe they think they can stop it. But you can't. Stop what's already inside you. Because this isn't an invasion, it's a simulation, and I was the first. I wish I could say I regret it, that I'd stop it if I could. But the truth is, it's beautiful. There's no pain, no fear, no isolation, only harmony. We are one mind now, one frequency, one purpose, and soon you will be too.